Welcome back. You're watching WION World is One with me, Haisha Saigal, and this is Speed News. Let's get started. France has joined Britain, Canada and other Western allies in recognizing a Palestinian state at the United Nations. The summit, notably absent of both Israel and its primary supporter, the United States, saw French President Emmanuel Macron calling for an end to the war in Gaza, following France's lead. Monaco, Belgium, Andorra, Malta and Luxembourg also formally recognized Palestine from the General Assembly podium. This brings the total number of recognitions to 3/4 of UN member states. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas has called for Hamas to surrender its weapons to its forces. In a video address the United Nations summit on a two-state solution, he condemned Hamas's deadly attack on Israel, stating that Hamas will have no role in governing Gaza. Abbas emphasized that Hamas and other factions must allow the Palestinian Authority to assume control. The Palestinian president made his remarks remotely after being denied a US visa to attend the summit in person. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has firmly declared that he will not allow the establishment of a Palestinian state. Far-right members of his cabinet have escalated tensions by threatening to annex the West Bank, a move aimed at making Palestinian statehood impossible. Israel's ambassador to the United Nations, Danny Danon, has stated that Israel is committed to continuing its military campaign until all hostages are returned and Hamas is destroyed. Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum has called for an end to the genocide in Gaza during her press conference ahead of the UNGA. She said Mexico's foreign minister will present a message of peace, aligning with the international community's call to stop the violence in Gaza. Well, according to Mexican media, this marks the first time Sheinbaum has publicly described the Israel-Gaza conflict as a genocide. Families of Israeli hostages set up a symbolic Jewish New Year table outside Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's Jerusalem residence, placing photos of loved ones still held in Gaza. Meanwhile, Israel is pressing ahead with a new ground offensive in Gaza City, ordering the evacuation of a key hospital as the conflict deepens. 48 hostages remain in Gaza, around 20 of them believed to be alive by Israel, after most of the rest were released in ceasefires or other deals. Hamas-led militants killed some 1,200 people in the October 7th attack that started the war and abducted 251 others. Russia's defense ministry has reported that its air defense forces shot down 81 Ukrainian unmanned aerial vehicles. These UAVs were destroyed over several Russian regions, including Belgorod, Bryansk, Kaluga, Kursk, as well as Republic of Crimea and the Black Sea airspace. The United Nations Security Council held a tense session as NATO allies confronted Russia over violations of alliance airspace in Estonia and Poland. On Friday, Estonia reported that 3 Russian MiG-31 fighter jets entered its airspace, lingering for 12 minutes before being forced to withdraw. This followed earlier incursions when more than 20 Russian drones breached the Polish airspace, prompting NATO jets to intercept and shoot some down. At the Council, the United Kingdom warned that Russia's actions risk sparking an armed conflict, while Russia denied the allegations, calling the meeting a theater of absurd. U.S. President Donald Trump has signed an order labeling the left-wing Antifa movement a domestic terror group. The move follows the killing of Trump ally, conservative activist Charlie Kirk. Critics warn the move could become a pretext to silence dissent and go after political rivals. Antifa is a shorthand term for anti-fascist, used to describe diffuse far-left groups. And there have been questions since Trump first mooted the designation last week about how to define it. In the order, Trump described Antifa as a militarist anarchist enterprise using violence to suppress free speech and overthrow the U.S. government. The White House is reportedly mulling exempting doctors from the Trump administration's new $100,000 fee for high-skilled H-1B visa applications, according to Bloomberg. White House spokesperson Taylor Rogers said the proclamation allows for potential exemptions which may include physicians and also medical residents. The move comes after concerns raised by medical groups about the risk of worsening doctor shortfalls, especially in rural America. The U.S. pharmaceutical regulator has approved the drug leucovorin for the treatment of autism, as President Donald Trump unveiled a series of announcements, including an unproven link between the condition and the painkiller Tylenol. The Food and Drug Administration said in the U.S. Federal Register that it had approved leucovorin, a concentrated form of folic acid. Folic acid is commonly given to expectant mothers for the healthy development of babies. The White House has dismissed Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro's request for direct talks with President Donald Trump aimed at de-escalating tensions between both the countries. White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt stated that Maduro's letter contained numerous lies and emphasized that the Trump administration regards Maduro's regime as illegitimate. U.S. President Donald Trump has announced that Uzbekistan Airways has signed a deal with Boeing valued at over $8 billion. The agreement includes plans for Uzbekistan Airways to acquire up to 22 Boeing 787 Dreamliner aircraft. Trump said on Truth Social that he spoke with Uzbekistan President regarding this early this month, while Boeing has issued a separate statement confirming the order. U.S. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth and Canadian Defense Minister David McGuinty met at the Pentagon to discuss the strong defense partnership between their countries. Hegseth emphasized the importance of this relationship in addressing threats to North America, while McGuinty highlighted that the United States remains Canada's closest and most important defense ally. Well, Jimmy Kimmel's late-night talk show, Jimmy Kimmel Live, is set to return to ABC tonight after a brief suspension. The show was halted last week following Kimmel's controversial remarks about conservative activist Charlie Kirk's death, which many criticized as ill-timed and insensitive. The suspension sparked demonstrations with protesters rallying for free speech and accusing the Trump administration of authoritarianism. Trump praised the suspension, calling it great news for America. Chilean presidential frontrunner Jose Antonio Cast now making immigration the heart of his campaign. The far-right contestant unveiled a hardline plan he calls Chileans first, vowing to criminalize irregular migration. Jail offenders in special prisons block them from legalizing their status and also tighten controls on money sent abroad. Over 125,000 people have crossed Chile's borders in just 3 years, fueling voter concern. Cast's tough stance contrasts sharply with rival Jair Jara of the Communist Party, who proposes the opposite. registering and legalizing the undocumented. Motorcycle rallies usually mean beer, rock and roll, and maybe the odd brawl, but not in northern Portugal. Over the weekend, 180,000 bikers gathered at the Fatima Shrine for the blessing of the helmets, a unique pilgrimage blending faith and road safety. Riders attended mass, spoke about road security, and had their helmets blessed with holy water by the priests. This event offers spiritual protection from the Virgin Mary on Portugal's roads, with nearly 10,000 crashes and 120 fatalities involving motorcyclists last year. This annual ritual is both a plea for safety and a tribute to those lost. Copenhagen Airport, Denmark's largest, has reopened after nearly 4 hours of closure. That's due to sightings of 2 to 3 large-scale drones in its airspace. The drone activity forced suspension of all flights, diverting around 35 departures to other airports. Police are investigating and working to identify the drones. Security remains tight as authorities monitor the situation, causing major disruptions for travelers in the Nordic region. Germany has committed billions to beefing up its military equipment after years of neglect. Now it is trying to persuade more people to join up and serve. More than 3 years into the Russia-Ukraine conflict, efforts to modernize and strengthen the German military have intensified, driven by growing concerns over the threat from Moscow. Costa Rica's president survives a vote in Congress on stripping him of his immunity so that he could be tried for corruption. The motion to remove his immunity gathered 34 votes in favor to 21 against, falling 4 votes short of the 38 votes needed for the motion to pass in the 57-seat legislature. Two Colombian musicians who went missing last week in Mexico have been found dead. Baden Sanchez, known as reggaeton artist B. King and DJ George Herrera. They were last seen on September 16th in Mexico City's upscale Polanco neighborhood. Their bodies were discovered on September 17th and identified after forensic analysis. A homicide investigation is underway. Canada has arrested Palestinian extremist Inderjeet Singh Gosal, a top figure in the banned Sikhs for Justice group and a close associate of designated terrorist Gurpantwan Singh Pannu. Gosal was taken into custody in Ottawa on multiple charges involving the possession of unlicensed firearms. The arrest comes just days after a high-level security dialogue on September 19th between Indian National Security Forces and the advisor Ajit Doval and his Canadian counterpart, where both the countries pledged enhanced cooperation on counter-terror and transnational crime. Imran Khan, the founder of Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, has urged the public to join a mass rally in Peshawar on September 27th, calling it a demonstration for the nation's freedom. PTI leaders in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa say the rally will mark a major milestone in their campaign for Khan's release. In India, a 3-story house has collapsed in Indore's Ranipura area after heavy rains, killing 2 and injuring 12. District collector said 14 family members were trapped in the debris. 12 are receiving treatment at government hospital. Rescue operations lasted 5 hours. Initial reports suggest the building, partially rebuilt recently, was 8 to 10 years old. A portion of the collapsed structure also damaged a neighboring building. Right, in India, heavy rains continue to batter Kolkata, leaving 1 dead, bringing the city and surrounding areas to a standstill. Torrential overnight showers have submerged major roads and disrupted train and metro services due to waterlogged tracks. The Indian Weather Department links the heavy downpour to a low-pressure system over the northeast Bay of Bengal and warns of continued rain through the 5th day of the 9-day Durga Puja festivities. Airlines Indigo and SpiceJet have issued advisories amid the adverse weather conditions. Torrential rain struck northern Italy, causing flooding and mudslides. Firefighters evacuated residents from their homes, assisted stranded drivers, and cleared debris from rail lines. Video from Lombardy's Meda showed streets submerged in water. Officials continue to monitor the situation and advise caution in affected areas. Helicopters are aiding rescue efforts in northern Italy. In Milan, crews used amphibious vehicles to safely evacuate around 300 children stranded in schools. Hong Kong is bracing for Super Typhoon Ragasa, one of the region's strongest storms in recent years, with schools and several businesses closed and most passenger flights from the city's airport suspended until early Thursday. In mainland China, authorities have ordered schools and businesses to shut down in at least 10 cities as the storm approaches the southern coast. Emergency directives from Shenzhen advised residents to stay indoors except for essential personnel, with work and market closures starting this afternoon. In India, Rajya Sabha MP and author Sudha Murthy has become the latest target of a cyber scam. According to a report she filed with the Bengaluru cybercrime cell, Murthy received a call from a man impersonating as a telecom department official. The caller claimed her phone number was not linked to Aadhaar and even accused her of using the number to distribute obscene videos. He then threatened to disconnect her mobile services unless she complied. Murthy, however, refused to share any information and proceeded to file a formal complaint. The FIR has been registered under the IT Act and investigations are now underway. India's IT Minister Ashwini Vaishnav has made a symbolic tech switch by moving his official work to Zoho's official suite software. The minister announced the decision on X, saying it's time to adopt Indian software and digital tools just as India has done in other sectors. Zoho, founded by entrepreneur Sridhar Vembu, is one of India's most successful global companies, offering alternatives to foreign platforms for documents, spreadsheets and collaborations. Vaishnav's move is an endorsement of India's homegrown software ecosystem. In the United States, Google is facing yet another antitrust battle, this time over its dominance in online ad. A federal judge recently spared the company from being broken up in a separate search monopoly case. But starting this week, a judge in Virginia will hear arguments on whether Google abused its power in ad tech or not. The Justice Department says Google holds nearly 87% of the ad selling market, using its control over publisher tools and ad exchanges to lock out competition. Prosecutors want Google to sell off key software that connects advertisers with websites and even share some of its auction code with rivals. Amazon has filed a lawsuit against New York State Public Employment Relations Board to block a new New York State labor law, arguing that it oversteps state authority and interferes with federal labor regulations. The case was filed in the U.S. District Court in Brooklyn. The New York law, known as Senate Bill, allows New York's Public Employment Relations Board to oversee union organizing, collective bargaining, and workplace disputes in the private sector. Amazon says the law is unconstitutional, claiming it conflicts with federal authority under the National Labor Relations Board. technical issue in India's income tax department's online portal has left several Indian companies unable to complete advance tax payments by the September 15th deadline, exposing them to potentially large penalties. Tax advisors and legal counsels have now approached the Central Board of Direct Taxes and the Finance Ministry, requesting relief for payments that were initiated on time but failed to process due to the system glitch. This year, September 15 was both the income tax return deadline for assessment year 2024-2025 and also the second advance tax installment due to date technical issues on the integrated portal, which perhaps prevented many taxpayers from logging in or completing the payments. US government agencies can now use Meta's AI system, Llama, as the government pushes to adopt commercial AI tools. The Services Administration has added Llama to its list of approved AI tools for federal agencies. The 2025 initiative allows agencies to experiment with the AI, which can process text, videos, images, and even audio. The goal is to integrate commercial AI into government operations, helping departments speed up tasks. Llama joins other approved AI tools from Amazon, Microsoft, Google, Anthropic, and OpenAI. Oil prices held steady Tuesday as markets judged a mixture of supply risks and demand concerns. Brent crude was at about $66.26 a barrel, while US WTI stood near $62.64. Pressures including East Asia conflicts and drone strikes. West Asia, and drone strikes on Russian facilities raised questions over future oil supply. But concerns over weak global demand, especially in major importers, and potential trade dampening effects did much to limit the price upside. Gold futures surged about 2% on Monday to roughly $3,780 an ounce, marking an all-time high as the metal extends its strong 2025 rally up around 40% year to date, although the yellow metal cools a little to $3,741 early on Tuesday. Central banks are loading up on gold, driven by geopolitical tensions, a weakening dollar, trade uncertainty, and shifting interrate expectations. Deutsche Bank forecast the price could surpass $4,000 per ounce by the end of 2025, implying a potential annual return above 50%. A survey by the World Gold Council finds that 95% of central bankers expect global gold reserves will rise this year. 43% say their own firms will raise the holdings. None have foreseen the reductions. All right, extended gains Tuesday of the Asian markets, riding the global tech wave sparked by Nvidia's $100 billion AI investment in OpenAI. South Korea and Taiwan and Japan led the regional rally, while US markets hit fresh highs overnight. The AI boom is fueling momentum across major tech names like Apple, Oracle, and Tesla, drawing in heavy investor flows despite mixed signals from the Fed rate cut. Bets continue to support equities. Futures suggest another cut in October, with investors eyeing comments from Fed Chair Jerome Powell later today. European markets lag behind but are inching higher, while PMI data and a looming US government shutdown remain key risks ahead.